Everyone, I'm going to talk about tenses, especially about the future. There are a number of tenses talking about the future. In this video, I'm going to focus on the forms and usage of simple future tense, future continuous tense, and future perfect tense, as well as the differences when we use them to talk about the future. Let's start with simple future tense. When it is a statement, it is will plus VI. What is VI? VI refers to verb infinitive, which means the verb remains unchanged. For example, I will watch the movie next Monday. When it comes to simple future questions, it is simple. You just start with the first part of the verb, that is, will, and then it is followed by whatever subject and the second part of the verb, that is, VI, verb infinitive. Please note that the second part of the verb remains unchanged no matter what subject it is. Examples: will they win the coming competition? And will she see Mr. Chan 2 days later? You can see that the verb infinitives, the second part of the verb of both examples, win and see, do not change. As for negative statements, which means adding not to the statement, we just add not in between the simple future verb, such that will not plus VI. Examples: we will not walk to the MTR station today. And it will not play this toy anymore. The same rule also applies to verb to be, since the VI form of be is be. As it remains unchanged, we will have will be or will not be as the simple future verb to be. Examples: he will be the captain of our team next year. You will not be disappointed if you take my advice. As for verb to be questions, again, we just start with the first part of the verb, will, and then the subject and VI, that is be, remaining itself unchanged. Examples: will she be the girl that you are looking for? Will they be glad to hear this good news? So when do we use simple future tense? By looking at the examples, we can know that we use simple future tense to make predictions about future events. In other words, we don't know what will happen, and we are just making a wild guess about the future outcome. Okay, so let's move on to another tense, which may be new to you, future continuous tense. From our previous knowledge, we know that the form of whatever continuous tense is be plus ing. And the word be tells you the time, present, past, or future. That's why the form of present continuous tense is, am, or are plus ing, where be is changed to is, am, or are to tell you that it is at present time, while the form of past continuous tense is was, were, plus ing, where be is changed to was or were to tell you that it happened in the past. So how does future continuous tense look like? Under the same pattern, you should ask yourself how the word be looks like in future tense, and that is will be. That is why a future continuous verb has three parts, that is, will, be, plus ing. Examples: they will be setting up the game booth at 9 a.m. tomorrow. She will be singing on the stage when you are on your way to the airport. When it comes to future continuous questions, we just start with the first part of the future continuous verb, will, then the subject, and then the other parts of the verb, be plus ing. Examples: will we be seeing the same girl when we walk to school tomorrow again? Will it still be sleeping at 9 a.m. tomorrow? When it is a negative statement, again, we just add the word not after the first part of the verb will, such that it is will not be plus ing. Examples: you will not be going anywhere tomorrow if you can't finish this project. He will not be playing the guitar anymore. Now, when do we use future continuous tense? Let's look at the examples to deduce its usage. They will be setting up the game booth at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Will we be seeing the same girl when we walk to school tomorrow again? We use future continuous tense when we want to emphasize the event will be happening at a specific certain time in the future. In fact, it's just like present continuous tense. We want to stress that the action is happening now, while we use past continuous tense to emphasize that the action was undergoing at a specific time in the past. So the same logic applies to future continuous tense when we want to stress that an action will be going on at a specific time in the future, which you can see from the highlighted words in the examples. Here comes the last tense in this video, future perfect tense. Again, this may be new to you, but in fact, you should often come across situations using this tense. Let's look at its form first. We know that the forms of present or past perfect tenses are have or has or had plus pp, depending on the time. That's why the form of present perfect tense is have or has plus pp, while the form of past perfect tense is had plus pp. Following the same pattern, how does future perfect tense look like? How does the word have look like in future tense? Yes, it is will have. That's why a future perfect verb has three parts. That is, will, have, plus pp. Let me remind you again that pp refers to past participle, which is the last column of the verb table. Examples: he will have done his work by tomorrow. Done is the pp form of do, while arrived in the second example is the pp form of arrive. As for questions, again, we start the question with the first part of the verb will, and then it's followed by the subject and the other parts of the verb have plus pp. Please note that it must be have, but not any other form of have, such as has or had, since we can only use bare infinitive after will. Example: will the company have received your application by next week? Negative statements also follow the same pattern. We just need to add not after the first part of the verb will, such that the whole verb is will not have plus pp, a total of 4 parts. Again, because it is after the word will, it must be have, not has nor had in a future perfect verb, no matter what subject it is. Example, he will not have given a good presentation by the end of the semester if he does not work well with his teammates. The same pattern applies to verb to be. Since the PP form of be is been, the future perfect verb to be is will have been, or will not have been if it is a negative statement. Example, they will have been a team for 10 years by the end of this year. The same pattern also applies to questions. So I'm not going into detail here. When I introduced future perfect tense, I said that we actually often come across situations using future perfect tense. Why I said so is because we use future perfect tense when an event will already have happened before a certain time in the future. We often face such situations as we have a lot of deadlines to meet, such as when we need to hand in our homework, reports, or projects, etc. We are expected to finish them before the deadlines, aren't we? So let's look at the examples. He will have done his work by tomorrow. Will the company have received your application by next week? They will have been a pal of couple by this year. We can see that there's one thing in common among these examples. That is the word by plus a specific time in the future. This phrase actually shows us that the action must be completed before that future time. Therefore, when we do tenses exercises and we see the preposition by with a future time, it is very likely that the answer is in future perfect tense. Before the end of this video, let's look at the differences among the 3 tenses. We use simple future tense to make predictions about future events. And we use future continuous tense when we want to stress that the event will be happening at a specific certain time in the future. Finally, we use future perfect tense when the event will already have been happened before a certain time in the future. You may also relate it to deadlines. Also, when we use future perfect tense, we often see the word by with a future time. That's all for this video. Hope you'll find it useful. Bye!